And welcome back to Scream with Me. This is Scream with Me. My name is Rusty, and this is my music and video channel where I talk about my favorite horror movies and my favorite metal music, mostly metal, grunge, punk. And now I want to talk about an interesting little gem that I found. It is it's not a very well known, I'd never heard of it, but it's an independent little film, vampire film. And vampires are one of my favorite genre. And this one is called Midnight Sun. And it says Martin meets Let the Right One In. Which I can buy that. The tagline is forced by a disease he thinks. To drink human blood, Jacob must control his violent tendencies as local law enforcement narrowed their focus on him as a suspect in a series of grisly murders. This movie was released in 2011, directed by Scott Leberecht, who also wrote it. It stars Zak Kilberg, Maya Parish, and Jodie Jonz. I think that's the blood dealer that he gets hooked up with. But this is one of the most interesting little vampire films I think I've ever seen. First of all, he has no idea. All he knows is that he has been feeling a little sick for a while. Nothing happened to him. It's not like he got bit, or anything like that he knows of. Nothing happened to him that he's aware of. He just begins to feel sickly and pale, and he goes to the doctor, and the doctor says he's showing signs of anemia, and he's getting these cravings to eat raw meat, but not the meat, the blood, the draining the blood. So he starts going to bakeries and buying blood. It's the only thing that makes him feel better. When he doesn't do it, he feels really bad, tired, and stuff like that. So he begins going and buying, buckets of blood from the butcher shop. Now, like I said, this poor guy has no idea what's going on. And then he starts getting the cravings to attack people, and he does end up attacking one woman, but he doesn't think that he killed her. He's not sure. And then he ends up attacking another person violently. He's a security guard, a late night security guard. So he begins to become, and he's always been that way. The reason that he is a late night security guard, graveyard shift security guard, is because he's always had trouble with the sun, and it's gotten progressively worse as time has went by, to where now he doesn't go out into the sun if he can help it. So he leads a nocturnal life, but things are really heating up for him now. Especially once he got the taste of blood, if you will. So it's not even occurring to him until he sees a movie about Dracula, and he starts putting crosses on his forehead and putting garlic to his face, and none of that is affecting him. So he's trying the old stereotypes of what should happen to him if he's a vampire. The only thing that's turning out to be true is the sun. And his thirst for blood. Now, he runs across this girl that he finds interesting, and they sort of start dating, but this whole time, she doesn't know anything, and she's got a problem of her own, an addiction of her own, cocaine. So while she's dealing with a cocaine addiction, he's trying to hide the fact that he's going out and hooking up and buying blood from a guy at the... it was one of the coolest scenes, or disturbing, or whatever, was that he starts trying to break into the hospital's, he goes to a hospital, and he goes in the back, and the place where they throw their infectious biohazard stuff. Well, that particular skip is locked. It's not like a regular skip, it's a biohazard skip. So he's trying to break into it, and this guy comes out and catches him. And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, sorry." He tries to run away. But the guy stops him. And he's like, "Hey, man, I know what you need. I can get you what you need. What do you want in this? Why are you trying to break into this?" And when he finds out that the guy wants blood, he's like, "Well, I can get that for you." So, because he had come out there to throw bad, blood away. So he starts dealing blood to him like he's dealing drugs. And the guy's like, "Why are you doing this?" He's like, "Well, everybody's got their thing. I don't care why you're wanting it. All I care about is that you pay me for it." So he's like buying blood from this guy like he would buy drugs. He ends up biting this guy when they get into a fight because he's found out that the guy is going and getting blood off of living people with like IV tubes and stuff to sell him. That upsets him. They get in a fight. He tries to kill him because when he doesn't have blood, this guy goes nuts. So he tries to kill him, ends up biting him, but then he disappears. Now everything starts to make sense. The woman that he attacked, he had thought he had killed her. She was burnt to ashes. So the cops are looking for like a serial killer who burns his victims to ash. Well, they're not being burnt to ash because of that. They're being burnt to ash because he bites them, drains their blood, and now he realizes that he's passing it on. He really is a vampire. And he's passing it on and ends up saving his drug-addled girlfriend. And now she's one. The drug dealer that he was getting his blood from, he's one. But he turns out to be such a psycho that him and that guy's brother actually tie him down at the bridge and let the sun fry him because he's obviously going to be a psycho vampire. And this guy's not. He's not really a psycho vampire. He didn't even know that's what he was. So the movie sort of ends after all of this stuff with them killing the police officers that come to the detective that's kind of on his trail. He's had to turn his girlfriend to save her life because she would have died had he not turned her. And there you go. So the movie basically ends with them sitting there going, "Well, we are what we are. What do we do now?" So I think one of the most interesting things about this movie was that fact. He does not know how he got it. He does not know how he became a vampire. And you watch him as he realizes what's going on. And then he decides he's not a vampire because, the tropes don't work. The garlic and, only the sunlight. But then he also gets more proof that he is a vampire because he finds out that if he bites someone, they turn into what he is, a vampire without fangs. So that's Midnight Sun. It's one of the most interesting little vampire, if you're into vampire movies, this would definitely be one that you would want in your collection because it's a phenomenal vampire movie. And him having to deal with discovering that that's what he is and not really knowing how, because nobody bit him. I mean, he tries to think. Once he realizes what, everything that has went on, he tries to think, has something happened to me that I don't remember? I don't remember anyone biting me. I don't, remember anything happening that should make this be happening to me. Yet there he is in this situation. And he's got no choice in the matter. If he goes outside in the sun now, he will burn up. And if he doesn't drink blood, he will burn up. So he is sort of left in a predicament of not knowing what to do about it. So, yeah. If you're into vampires, the acting is great. Cinematography is great. It doesn't look like a cheap little B movie or anything. It's really good. The special effects are fine. There's not many because they don't have to be. But yeah, so it says it's not rated, but that's because it's an independent film. It is definitely a hard R, so no problem with that. 2011, Midnight Sun, Zak Kilberg, Maya Parish, and Jonz. It's a phenomenal little vampire movie. The realization that you are becoming a vampire and you don't know how or why. The realization of what powers you have and what to do about it. So yeah, Midnight Sun, 2011. If you're into vampires, pick it up. I definitely recommend it. I love vampire movies, and I'm glad to have this in my collection. It's a wonderful character study of a vampire, and there's just this mystery, of how and when and where and why, but those aren't answered. You just have to deal with what you are, and that's the be-all and end-all of the situation. So, thank you for taking the time to listen to me prattle on about another horror movie, and I will see you again soon for more, and love you, miss ya, bye-bye, stay scary.